So with iMovie, you open up, create a new event, give it a name, you can import media. It's going to open up. I can look wherever I want to. I can go to my hard drive, my desktop. So if I come in here, I know that in my downloads folder, I have LIU podcast demo and I have a podcast logo that I created. So I'm going to create and import those two things. So I have my sort of basic generic logo. If I don't want my face to be seen, I can use that. And then this is the actual video I recorded of me making a video. So all I have to do is I can just drop these things onto my timeline. My zoom is right here. I can zoom in, similar to other platforms. I have my timeline right here. I can see my wave. If I wanted to trim my clip, if it starts right here, on the Mac, you can control click or right click and I can split. Click on that first part, I can delete it. I can come to the end if this is the end of my clip. Same thing, I can click, I can split. And if I wanted to, I could delete this section if that's my podcast. If I wanted to put in titles, just like in any other one, I can bring in, drag down a title text there. So I'll double click on it and I can come over here and say, welcome to 1205. Now, iMovie is a little bit more limited than other ones in terms of number of video tracks and things like that, but you could put in some basics along those lines. You can also have different sort of background images. So if I wanted to just have a solid color or a solid black as a background, I can take any of these to start out with. I can just drag this down to the beginning. I can zoom in. If I want to make this 2 seconds, I can just click and hold and drag down. You'll notice it's still just like WeVideo or any other video editing platform does it in terms of frames. So 2 seconds. I could put a transition if I wanted to fade. Just press and hold, drag down. And what that's going to do is that's going to create just a simple little fade. I go to the end. If this is actually where my podcast ended, just do that. Go back to backgrounds, drag my black over. And I can also drag a transition at the end, so I sort of fade to black. A little bit more simple than some higher end programs like an Adobe Premiere or a WeVideo. And it just fades to black, and there it is. That's the basics. And again, I can come up here and I can add titles over different sections of it. So if I wanted to change different names, if I wanted to have different things appear, that just kind of gives it that professionalism setup or vibe. If I wanted to not have a title, just click on it, press delete, come back over here, I press delete. What I could also do is when I come back into my media, I could take this and just put that on top. And what that's going to do is it's just going to cut from my face to that. So essentially whatever's above the video we're going to see. Now, one quirk of iMovie you notice is that it zooms in. So if I take this out longer, it's going to have this animation. What that is that's called the Ken Burns effect. So this little cropping tool, if you click on that, Ken Burns is a documentarian and he sort of made that famous, that kind of move. You could just do fit. And if you just do fit, what's going to happen is that's just going to stay put. And you can move it down. And if this is where my podcast was starting, and let's say I didn't want to see my face, again, I just come over here, control click or right click to split the clip. I'm going to delete this section. It moves everything down. I can have this right here. And if I didn't want to see my face for the whole podcast, I just drag that out. Now if I press play, I got 2 seconds of black, fade, and there's my podcast. And similarly over here, now you notice there's a little bit of the video there, so what you would have to do is you would just drag this further out. You don't necessarily need the fade if you're going to do just a solid sort of still image in the background. The fade looks a little bit nicer and cleaner if you're doing visuals where you're seeing the people. So now once that's done in iMovie, there's just a little share button in the top right. Click it. We're just going to export the file. And for this, I'm just going to export it and call it LIU 1205 iMovie, and click next. It's going to save it. We'll save it for right now just on my desktop. And it's going to export. It's going to take a minute. You're going to see a little in the top right, a little zoom feature or a little like clock feature that's telling you that it's processing. And then once it's done, you can then upload that to YouTube.